Are you concerned about inflation and higher prices? 82% said yes. Concerned about entering recession? 72% said yes. Are you concerned that the China trade war might escalate into a military confrontation? 66% said yes, and 58% said they're concerned with what's going on in the stock market.
Voters are saying, hey, we're not real happy with the economy, with the possibility of a recession, with inflation and the tariffs. Will the president adjust policy to take care of that political damage that maybe is happening to him at the moment? It's a question of wait and see. We're going to have to wait quite a long time, I think.
You know, things are going poorly for Donald Trump when Fox News isn't giving their usual defense of Donald Trump and his administration's decisions. And to make things worse, dedicated MAGA propaganda outlet Newsmax is struggling to find guests willing to put a spin on Trump wrecking our economy.
See, Trump doesn't understand who pays the tariffs. He thinks it's external revenue. The reason we have an income tax is because the government made a deal with the middle class by saying, if you allow the income tax and you let us amend the Constitution, we will eliminate the tariffs that are paid for by the middle class and the poor, and we will replace tariffs with an income tax that will be paid exclusively by the rich. So tariffs are an indirect tax, but they're paid for by the middle class and the poor. China doesn't pay our tariffs. Canada and Mexico don't pay our tariffs. Americans, hardworking, middle-class Americans, pay 100% of those tariffs.
Just based on time, I got to leave it there.
You don't have to be a Wall Street stockbroker like Peter Schiff here to recognize the reality that the haphazard, aimless, blanket tariffs Trump has proposed and the price hikes to follow disproportionately affect the most economically vulnerable groups of people in our country. But this is the Republican Party we're talking about. And we all know they couldn't care less about the average working person's life.
I think what drives people like me crazy is that we would like you to talk about something real. We want you to talk about what is really on our minds. And that is that Trump is using the economy as a justification for subverting just about every law in this country. Stop. Why do you keep acting like it's business as usual and the budget resolution and acting like his behavior has nothing to do with your job and what you are doing and what you say to stand up to him? Elon Musk has zero data to show any of the savings that he has done. That has been debunked everywhere. He puts numbers up, then he takes them back down. This is insanity. What are you doing to be real with people about how Trump is breaking the law to get away with the way he is doing this? You have an oath. You have an oath. And I don't see you living up to that oath.
We live in a nation under the rule of law, which I support.
Listen, that lady is not alone with her frustrations of the Republican Party and different people in Congress, right? Who are not standing up to Donald Trump, who is breaking the law, right? Or Elon Musk. And they're just following his orders because they don't want to be seen as an enemy of Trump, because they don't want the consequences. They're probably afraid. They're definitely afraid of what he will do, right? And this chaos sprung on by the Trump administration, that is part of the plan, okay? It's all part of the plan because it allows Trump to posture like he's fixing the problem despite being the root cause of it. Don't just take my word for it, though. Listen to what the potential 2028 Democrat presidential candidate, if we still have elections then, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, has to say.
This uncertainty, this chaos is no accident. The President of the United States has chosen to destroy the federal government's ability to help people. He literally hired the richest man in the world to take a chainsaw to the basic services that Minnesotans rely on to build better lives. His plan leaves nobody there working to prevent the next pandemic, nobody to pick up the phone at the Social Security office, nobody making sure kids with special needs get the quality education they deserve. Just a few months ago, Minnesotans who got ripped off by a bank, a credit card company, a healthcare company, could go to some place in the federal government and seek help and relief. But now the government switched sides. Under this administration, the federal government exists to help the corporations as they screw the American people over. Next up, Medicaid. And everybody in this room and across Minnesota, let's be very clear what it means. 40% of children and more than 1 million of our neighbors in the state of Minnesota rely on Medicaid for their health care. This administration wants to take that health care away. Meanwhile, rural hospitals will be forced to close. All the rest of us, our costs will go up, and state budget will be torn to pieces. The President has also chosen, and I stress this, chosen to tear up the values that once made America the shining light of the world. Now, in this land of the free and home of the brave, we have university students being swept up, shoved into unmarked vans, and fathers being tossed into Salvadorian gulags without a hint of due process. So I want to be real clear about this. If you say you love freedom, but you don't believe freedom is for everybody, then the thing you love isn't freedom, it's privilege. Hour by hour, day by day basis, the President of the United States has chosen to throw our economy into turmoil. Global markets are teetering on the brink of collapse. Businesses across this country and here in Minnesota are already laying off employees by the thousands. Working people are paying more for basic goods, and if you haven't checked your 401k lately, don't do it. So let's be very clear. None of this had to happen. When the President took office 3 months ago, there was no reason to throw a wrench in the works and destroy decades of work. But if you listen to anything that comes out of his mouth, one thing has become clear. He's just plain confused about how the world really works for working people. We're talking about a guy that slapped a 10% tariff on an island populated only by penguins. It'd be funny as hell if it wasn't true and stupid. It makes no sense to anyone. That isn't servant leadership. It's not any kind of leadership. It's small, it's weak, and it's petty. It takes the awesome power of the federal government and turns it into a crude weapon, wielded by a man who wants to be king.
Listen, the only way we're going to see any real substantive change in our country is by backing left-wing populist policies that actually work to improve the lives of regular people, instead of policies that only benefit the rich ruling class. Okay? That's it. You cannot have a functional society that is going to improve the lives of the average American if you are catering towards these corporations and these $1 million and $1 billion companies, right? And if you're catering towards the 1%. Okay? So that is the strategy. Otherwise, we are going to continue down the same road again and again and again. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.